Okay, love to welcome everybody to our Gardening Unplugged today, which we're going to talk about rock gardening. So that's obviously a favorite topic of ours, so why don't we head over to some rocks. So the question, first of all, is what is rock gardening? And rock gardening is not very complicated. It's simply gardening with rocks. And it's gardening in a way that rocks are an important feature of the garden. Rock gardening is open to incredibly different interpretations depending on where you're growing. If you go up into the far northeast or go over to England, it's more about gardening with alpines. Down here, there's not a lot of alpines we can grow, so it's growing with plants that are appropriate to the rocks. The biggest mistake I see made with rocks and rock gardening is using small rocks. Small rocks do not work. It's a scale thing. I've seen some really bad examples where people just, oh, well, this is a rock this size, and that just doesn't work. You really have to have mass to make a rock garden look like it makes sense. This is one of our more recent installations. This is now, I believe, 3.5 years old. This basically did not exist 4 years ago. So we basically came in, scooped the ground, mixed the very bottom part where it was. This was a parking lot before this. The key is that water interface layer. So whatever natural material we had here in gravel, we mix that in with the mix we use. Now typically in rock gardens, not all rock gardens, where you want those in sunny rock gardens where you want things that need particularly good drainage, you need to have well-drained soils. That is not true in rock gardens with shade, which we'll walk to in just a moment. So in this particular mix, we took our typical garden mix, which we use all on the property, which is 50% native soil, 50% compost. And then we mix that mix with 50% Permitil. Permitil is a product which you can see here. It looks like pumice and it feels like pumice. This is used to make lightweight concrete block, and this is basically the leftover residue from that. The beauty of that in many of the plants that need good drainage is it has incredible airspace, but not just around it, but inside it. It also has very high nutrient content. So this wound up 50% Permitil, 25% native soil, 25% compost, and it gives us really good drainage. All right, as we walk around, you'll see it's not how many rocks, it's the size and how you place them. And again, there is no, it's a wonderful thing, there is no right or wrong. So you learn how to use prying, because you don't have a lot of equipment, but to locate the rocks, you will generally use lift bars and rocks underneath, and then you're gradually moving. It's not something you do fast. It's not something you need to pick up all the rocks heavy and move them, but you move them an inch at a time and then gradually get them into place. It's something people can do without not a lot of strength, but you have to understand how wedges work. Many plants in the rock gardens are plants, especially in sun rock gardens, that require something that the rock has. One of those things is many of these plants are from very warm areas that we can grow, and in evolving, they evolved to need their roots under a rock to keep their roots cool. The tops can be in full baking hot sun, but the roots need to be cool, and that's what rocks provide. Rock garden plants are what we call specialist plants. So all plants I divide into generalists and specialists. Generalists are things you will find at the box stores for sale. Specialists you probably won't, because most people that would buy them there would kill them. So you really need to focus on those the specialist plants, some conditions like this. Many of these plants are lithophytes or epilithic lithophytes. Lithophytes actually have to live near a rock. They will die if they're not near a rock. That's just the way they're wired. So many plants through the years that we killed over and over again, we finally realized, oh wait, this is a lithophyte. Let's plant another one by the rock, and then it absolutely does fine. So rock garden really opens up your garden to a lot of incredible opportunities. It's all about habitat creation. If you haven't looked underneath some of these, here we're growing a really rare little plant called a Euryphysa. This is probably the only one outside of its native habitat in China. It's considered completely ungrowable. So everything we read said it grows in rock crevices in China. We thought, all right, we can make rock crevices, and that's now about 5 years old. If you come around here, you look underneath here, we have a patch of living stones, which are also considered ungrowable in the garden here. If we had them out in the regular garden, they would be dead. Here we're able to provide habitat by having a ledge over this. So when we designed the garden, we designed it for as many different habitats as we could create. And again, there is no right or wrong. It's all about your version of artistic gardening. Some plants like very small cracks to grow in, and that's called crevice gardening. And we'll walk in a minute and look at some of our crevice areas. And basically the difference between rock gardening and crevice gardening is the crevice gardening just provides very small openings and very little water. These are generally going to be plants that are water sensitive that would die. So here we've got a hardy aloe. Many of the cacti will die if they get too much water. So let's just take a quick look at some of the areas out here in the crevice. So this is what I mentioned earlier. This is a rock garden made with concrete instead of rock. So this is, we call this excuse me. This is our fake rocks. This is what we call urbanite. But you see how we have very small cracks, and those cracks can range from an inch down to even 1/4 of an inch. The smaller they are, the more better drained stuff will grow in it, but you have to plant it very young in its life. You can't cram a 4-inch pot down a 1/4 inch crack. So a lot of those you'll actually have to start from your own seedlings. The crevices go all the way down, and then there's 300-foot border at the base. But we wanted to just give people the idea of some of the things you can grow. Again, see how the cactus are stuck in a very, very small crevice. Plants like sempervivums are fabulous. Those actually love crevices. Most of those are actually lithophytes. So that's why a lot of people kill sempervivums. They don't have them planted in or near a rock. We use rocks a lot of places. So here we don't have as many in the beds, but we've used them along the edge of the beds. Let's walk right up here.
Well, guess what? There's going to be another waterfall behind. Oh, it's cold.
Let's see, let me get where I can see everybody. Okay. There's not as many people that do woodland rock gardens because in the classical style, this is not where alpines grow. But we find there's just as many cool plants to grow in the woodland rock garden. So this side of the mountain, we came in 3 years ago. This was just straight down. There was no rocks here at all. So we dug all the underplanted plants out, and we came in and created niche habitats by using rocks. And that allows us to expand what we grow on this side dramatically, because every rock is a place, and creating planting pockets, some a little bigger here, where we're able to grow. So this is planted in our typical 50% compost, 50% native soil mix. And it really allows, in a very small space, to do something pretty neat. And we did it on the side here. We created this because we like height in the garden. We like to be able to look at plants from a different vantage point than everything down below. And so this entire mountain we created just by piling dirt up. We had to do some excavations below. We just let the equipment pile it as high as they could, and then we just carved out the pathways, and then we came in and did the rocking. So the amount of plants we're able to grow on a very small area is quite extraordinary. I always laugh at people that tell me their gardens are full, yet they garden flat. I know that they flunked geometry. It was a squared, b squared, and c squared. You got a lot more room when you plant up. And that's the cool thing about this type of rock garden.
Now, to place the rocks, do you have to put anything between them?
No, the key with rocks, you want generally 50% to 60% below ground. That's where people make the mistake. They put the rock, just lay it on top of the ground. That doesn't work. It looks like somebody placed a rock there. We want it to look more natural. So that is a tremendous amount of burying the rock. So we would come in, start from the base, and then we put the soil in behind it and pack that in. So yeah, something like that, that's less than 50% showing. So that is really a key, is getting enough of it behind so it doesn't look like it's going to take off and fly. Great question. Other questions? All right, we'll walk out this way. Just take a look at all the different things we're able to grow here. And you'll see how small some of the cracks are. Some very, very tiny.
Oh, you're doing a tour? Oh.
Feel free to join us. I will. I'm getting toward the end, but. So this is the final stop, but this is the full length of the crevice garden. So again, this side over here gets full sun for 6 to 8 hours. This over here only gets 3 to 4 hours of sun. So this is sort of a semi-shade crevice garden. These are things that really don't like the heat. So they get a wonderful blast of sun first thing in the morning when it's cool, and then they're in shade the rest of the day. So when we plant things, we plant them in several different areas to find out where they like it the best. This part is the 50% Permitil mix. From the center back is 100% Permitil. There's no soil in that. So we try them in very different areas. What we found is the mix that is pure Permitil drains better, but it also allows air in the winter time and cold to permeate deeper. So for things that are marginal, that's actually not good because the roots get colder. Here, those things perform better. But down there, if the plant's rock hardy, then we get a much better performance because the drainage is much better. So we've used a number of different styles here, from side crevices to upright crevices, and each one has certain plants that do better in each. You'll see more of the overhangs here, which allow us to grow plants that would not be hardy a foot further out. So here we're growing a Dudleya from Arizona, a Tephro cactus from Argentina, a Draba from Spain, and a Cotyledon from South Africa. None of those would be hardy where it rains on it in the wintertime. But by simply having this overhang or an acantholyman, this is considered one of the most difficult, this is considered completely ungrowable for us in the East. And yet there it is. And that's tucked into a sideways crevice. So it allows you, rock garden is just, again, it's so incredible, and everybody can put their own spin on it, which is great. If you're not familiar, we have a local chapter of the North American Rock Garden Society here in the Raleigh area, very active chapter. The national is just a phenomenal group. If you like to grow things from seed, they have a seed exchange of over 3,000 of the rarest plants on earth every year. And you get them for like couple bucks a piece. I mean, it's just ridiculously cheap to get this incredible opportunity. So it's something that really excites us if you want to do something a little different, especially if you're in a smaller area and want to do something, you can get so many plants crammed into a crevice garden, because typically, not always, you're dealing with much smaller plants. But it allows you to grow so many things, like the West Coast penstemon we typically can't grow here. And yet, here's Penstemon cardinalis looking pretty darn good, and that's probably 5-6 years old now.
Is that the yellow or the red?
The red right here, yeah.
If you have small space, you'd follow the same principles if you're doing it in a dish. Like, notice where it grows real world, and you can replicate that, right? In some cases. Now, not every plant grows in the wild where it grows its best. Matter of fact, it typically doesn't. It grows in the wild where it will persist without human intervention and without competition, but not where it grows its best. Some plants, yes, some plants that are specialists, that's the only place they'll grow, but not everything. So you can't look at a plant where it grows and know for sure where it will grow. It gives you a great indication, but you can also often make it grow much, much better. So we see what you're growing. Yes. Yes. Yeah, because we kill a lot of plants. I mean, many of these plants we may have planted a dozen times to be able to figure out how to grow it. And that's why we open up to share, so people can say, oh, I like that. Oh, look at the conditions. Here's where it thrives for us. If we find a plant growing in the wild in wet shade, we bring it home, we plant it in dry sun. We always do the exact opposite. Because for us, it's not about being successful, it's about learning something we don't know. So we come at it from a very different way of looking at things. For us, success is killing plants. Okay, we've learned something new about that plant. All right, we killed again, we've learned something else new. And once we learn enough things, we're going to figure out where that plant will grow in cultivation. Is that some of the living stones right under? Yes, they're everywhere. Oh, okay. Yeah, we've got them stashed all under. Anywhere they don't get rain in the winter is the key. Questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
How do you keep the soil from washing out?
How do we keep the soil from washing out? Great question. Number one, we don't allow a lot of water to rush in any one place. Number two, this soil is so well drained that it's hard to wash it out. And that's the key with good drainage. If this soil was not drained well and you had a large area for water to run, yes, it would overflow it. And rocks are really good for directing water. So if we have water, we will put rocks so that we direct the water where we want. If we see we're having a lot of water, we then come in and make a rock channel here for the water to run down away from the plants. Rocks just allow you to do so many things in the garden. They're just absolutely amazing, the opportunities they provide. Other questions? Yes. All right.
What is your alternative to Permitil?
Alternative to Permitil, if you can't find it, gravel, pea gravel. So use a small pea gravel. It's similar in size. It does not have the porosity. It does not have the nutrients. So it's not nearly as good, but it will work. Now, other people, this is very alkaline. So our pH of this section is 8.2. Now, our woodland garden, that's 6.2. So that's 100 times as acidic as this is. A lot of people that do rock gardens use pure sand. And you can get sand anywhere from 4.2 to 5.2. So if you want to grow an acidic rock garden, which is completely different, use good builder's sand. Not the play sand that you use that doesn't really drain well, but good builder's sand, very coarse, will also give you another great opportunity. So you really can go in so many different directions.
Now, I buy Permitil to get a bag at the hardware store for, I don't know, 30 bucks or something.
Yeah.
But to do, if I wanted to do an installation in my yard, I need a truckload.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So I would call the Permitil folks, they're in Salisbury, North Carolina, and say, hey, I either need a truckload or tell me somebody that sells it in bulk. A lot of the places that sell mulches will also sell Permitil in bulk. Where you can buy it. But the interesting thing about it, it was a waste product back in the 80s when we first became introduced to it. It didn't even have a name. It was, they were having to pay to bury it in a landfill. And they hired a guy at NC State and said, find us a use for this so we won't have to bury it. And he did very well. So today, Permitil is actually manufactured as a standalone product. It is actually intentionally made. DOT uses a lot of it on the highways. They ship boatloads of it to Dubai for the plantings over there. The Olympic Park in Atlanta is Permitil. I mean, it is used literally all over the world, and 100% of it comes from North Carolina. So it's a pretty amazing product that we have it right here in our own backyard. But yes, the bag stuff, that makes no economic sense at all.
It works good for my potted agaves, but...
There you go. But yes, no, you definitely want to buy it in bulk. And you can call them and say, who is a distributor in your area that has it in pickup load sizes? And they can tell you. Yes.
I love my quota.
Yeah.
Only Permitil plants. Soil test?
Well,
How do you tell us
again, the Permitil we know has a pH of 8.2.
So that's what's known.
Yeah,
Okay.
So any soil you add to that is going to drop it a little bit, but it's still going to be in the 7.8 to 8.2 range.
Got it.
So anything we're growing in straight Permitil, that is a pH of 8.2. And that's obviously plants that like acidic is not going to love this. Yes.
So the plants that are grown in the pure Permitil mix versus the one here that has the compost and whatnot, do those grow any slower at all? Or?
We haven't really noticed much speed difference because the plants, these are plants that typically grow pretty slow, that grow in these areas. So we haven't noticed, but the survivability in the winters, we really did not see that coming about the air penetration in the straight Permitil. So by mixing a little bit of soil, not a lot, it stops the air penetration and still allows us pretty darn good drainage. Great questions. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you all very much. Enjoy looking around. Hope that gives you some ideas. Awesome. Awesome. All right.